And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
As a geometry teacher, I like odd-shaped boxes, even though they're annoying to fit on the shelves. And so I always liked You've Been Sentenced because it's it's the only game I have that's actually a pentagon-shaped box. But it's also a pretty fun party game. And what I'm talking about today are 5 expansions for it. Gourmet Cuisine, Reader's Digest Word Power, Challenge, Sports Highlights, Pop Culture, and Sci-Fi Fantasy. Now, these expansions all basically work the same way. You can add one of them and join it with the regular game, or you can add them all in. It's up to you. Basically, a quick update for those who don't know how to play the game. The game is made up of various 5-sided cards, which are pretty neat, and there's tons of them. And each player is dealt 10 of them, and then you use whichever side you want to make a sentence. For example, here, I have Italy, and then the next one is a wild card, or wild food anyway. So Italy pizza grills harder inside salted peppers. Okay, that's not a very good sentence, but is it a sentence? And players can argue and vote on whether a sentence is good, whether it's grammatically correct, but you'll get some really funny sentences. You get bonus points if you use certain cards. You get bonus points if you use all 10 cards that were given to you. You get bonus points if you're the first person done with a sentence, and it's a lot of fun just trying to put together sentences. The words in the original one were very varied. They're famous people, short little words that you need in every sentence, all kinds of stuff, and it was a good mix. No one really complained about it, but at the same time, why not add some more cards to the game? Now, if you look at, like, for example, if you look at the backs of the cards, they're the same as the original cards, but at the fronts, they have a different symbol or a different pattern on them, so they're easy to separate if you want, although for me, I don't know how often I would separate them. Why not just throw them all in? The new cards have point values on them. For example, refrigerating is worth 20 points, but you can see refrigerated, refrigerates, refrigerate, and refrigerator are all worth 5 points. So that's actually kind of an improvement on the regular game. It would have been nice if they had put points on all the cards. It basically comes out to the same thing. All the new boxes, they fit. I have to actually place one in each corner, and then I put some cards in the middle and cards on top, and I barely fit everything in the box. I'm thinking about getting rid of these little boxes as much as I like them. They're pretty nice. They just have a lid on, come right apart, and you can fit the stack of cards inside there. They come with a decent amount of cards, and like I said, whether you want to add them to your game is up to whether you want what's inside. Well, the gourmet set is what else? It's about food. And so you're going to have all kinds of food cards in the game. I already mentioned refrigerator and beef and Gordon's Fisherman and drive-through and dishwasher and, lots of everything that has to do with food. Actually, this is an expansion that pretty much anyone's going to be able to handle because everyone likes food. Everyone likes to talk about food. And so this is one that you could throw in a base game and never really notice it. It would never cause a disadvantage for anyone. The word power one's a little bit different. It comes with basically words that not everyone uses, words that maybe you should use. Here, for example, I have bamboozled, dwindling, lucre, aghast, fortuitous. Now, these are words that you might use or you should be using perhaps in everyday conversation, but this is one that maybe you wouldn't want to use if you were playing with kids, or unless, of course, you were using it as a learning experience, and then you might have to stop and resort to looking up the dictionary every few moments. The sports highlights one, well, some people love sports and some people don't. But actually, I was pretty impressed with how the sports one was. There's a few cards with famous people on, Michael Jordan, famous sports figures, Wilt Chamberlain, Dr. J, Arnold Palmer. But for the most part, there's no sports teams on these cards. Instead, there's lots of cards that are wild sports team or wild sports star. And then, of course, there's, cards like rink, field, court, center, stadium. And, things like that. They bring out the sports flavor. And so while they might have some of the most famous sports people, they allow you pretty much to stick in anyone you want from sports. Does that fit in good with the basic game? Yeah, I think so. But I think if you really want to play the sports part, you might be better off just sticking in sports with just the basic game and leaving it at that, because mixing sports and food might seem odd to some people. I think it's fine. The pop culture game, or the pop culture expansion. Now, this one I was a little concerned about. For example, listen to this card. Britney Spears, Ashley Simpson, Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton, and Nicole Richie. Now, I was a little concerned that maybe the whole set would be like that. But pop culture is more than just a bunch of ditzy folks. They talk about things like this card has Bluetooth, cell phone, viral video, BlackBerry, and PDA, or maybe a hot topic of the day, censorship, or immigrants and immigration. And that, I think, really helps it. It's basically this decade, or the 90s, put into a box, and I really enjoy that. I can live with a couple of the famous weirdos, but having a box full of stuff that's upgraded, up-to-date stuff, that's interesting to talk about, and people would like that. And pop culture is a lot more fun than it sounds. Then there's my favorite of all the expansions, and that's a sci-fi fantasy. Now, is that because I'm a geek? Well, possibly, but I just love the cards. Like this one here has Robbie the Robot, Cylons, T-800, Dalek, and Marvin. Now, of course, bonus points if you know who all those people are, who all those figures are. What other set would have a whole card about regeneration, regenerating, or the Sonic Screwdriver, Lightsaber, Hitchhiker's Guide, the M41A Pulse Rifle, Discus, Flying Saucer, Flying Disc, and Disc World. Blades, Shuttlecraft, the Colonial Viper, TIE Fighter, X-Wing, Narnia, Greyhawk, the Marvel Universe, Babylon 5. I mean, I really enjoy that. Okay, this is the inner geek coming out, but by far my favorite expansion. I like throwing them all in the mix. I like having as much variety as possible. But depending on who I'm playing with, I can pull out a certain set. For example, if I'm playing with, a bunch of older women from the church, I'm probably going to pull out the sci-fi stuff. I'll probably pull out the sports stuff. That's not going to really interest them or entertain them, for the most part. I play with a couple of geeks, maybe in the sense, and they're like really loving stuff. I might pull out everything except sci-fi or pop culture, or I'm playing with some sports fans, so I can mix and match. It may be a pain to separate them, although it's pretty easy to see. But for the most part, I can keep them all mixed together and just have a lot of fun. You've Been Sentenced was a good game. I don't think it needed these expansions, but they do add a lot of variety, and they do it in a good way, having themed variety sets. Everything fits inside the basic box. I don't think I'll take any more expansions. I mean, I'll play more expansions, but I don't think any more are going to fit into the box after this. But still, that's 5 good expansions and 5 different ways you might want to go with the game. Do you want to use it as a learning game and add the Reader's Digest, or do you want to just use it and add a theme that you really enjoy?
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.